The history of indigenous peoples in the Americas spans millennia and is marked by a complex tapestry of cultures, societies, and interactions with European colonizers and settlers. Here's a more detailed overview. Pre-Columbian era. Before the arrival of Europeans in the late 15th century, the Americas were populated by diverse indigenous societies, each with unique languages, traditions, and ways of life. These societies ranged from hunter-gatherer tribes to advanced civilizations like the Aztec, Maya, and Inca, which had developed sophisticated agricultural, architectural, and societal structures. European colonization. In 1492, Christopher Columbus's arrival in the Caribbean marked the beginning of European colonization in the Americas. Over the next centuries, Spanish, Portuguese, English, French, and Dutch explorers and settlers established colonies across North, Central, and South America. These colonies often led to violent conflicts with indigenous peoples over land, resources, and sovereignty. Impact of colonization. Colonization had devastating consequences for indigenous peoples. European diseases, such as smallpox, measles, and influenza, to which native populations had no immunity, resulted in catastrophic population declines. Estimates suggest that millions died due to disease outbreaks alone. Additionally, European settlers often forcibly displaced indigenous communities from their lands, leading to loss of traditional territories and ways of life. Many indigenous peoples were subjected to slavery, exploitation, and cultural suppression as European powers sought to exert control over the resources of the Americas. Resistance and adaptation. Despite these challenges, indigenous societies exhibited resilience and resistance. They engaged in armed conflicts, such as the Pueblo Revolt of 1680 against Spanish rule in present-day New Mexico, and formed alliances with European powers to protect their interests. Some indigenous groups adapted to new circumstances by integrating aspects of European culture into their own, while others maintained strong resistance to colonization and preserved their traditional ways of life. Legal and political struggles. In the 19th and 20th centuries, indigenous peoples faced continued challenges as European powers and later the United States and Canada implemented policies aimed at assimilation and forced cultural change. These included boarding schools, where native children were often forced to abandon their languages and cultural practices. Throughout this period, indigenous leaders and activists fought for recognition of their rights to land, sovereignty, and cultural autonomy. Legal battles and political movements, such as the American Indian Movement, AIM, in the United States and the Aboriginal Rights Movement in Canada, brought attention to indigenous issues and helped secure important legal victories. Contemporary issues. Today, indigenous peoples in the Americas continue to confront significant challenges. Issues such as land rights, environmental degradation, economic development, healthcare disparities, and preservation of languages and cultures remain critical concerns. Efforts towards reconciliation and recognition of indigenous rights have gained momentum in recent decades, with various countries implementing policies aimed at addressing historical injustices and supporting indigenous self-determination. Conclusion. The history of indigenous peoples in the Americas is one of resilience, adaptation, and ongoing struggle against colonization and its legacies. It is a story of diverse cultures and societies that have persisted despite centuries of adversity, and of contemporary efforts to achieve justice, equality, and recognition within modern nation-states.